I'm sorry, I'm checking to see if our
Stream's
stream
not
is
going yet.
Oh, sorry.
Says it was like testing the bandwidth or something.
We can-
Water and sewer, yeah.
We can wait and try to get it working, that's fine. There's not much on the agenda, so.
You want to sing, fill the silence? People.
Support network help. That's a new one.
All right, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know how to give this report, like, I can talk about stuff, but Matt's still the best source of information, but essentially, the water line is in service now, the new water line, we got, the permission from EPA to do that. The force main, there's no real update yet, we still haven't heard back from, CN, maybe in the next couple weeks. Lift station 3, still on one pump, we're trying to, Matt and Josh are working to get the pump pulled, we may have to call an outside help to get it pulled if necessary. Early preliminary stages of planning for the next lift station, or a new lift station.
A new lift station.
And then the only other thing of note is, there's a steering committee for the square and kind of redoing the sidewalks and kind of a lot of concrete work, et cetera.
Yes.
They requested a, kind of like a plan of, while we're doing that, it makes sense to do the water lines.
Yes.
So we're gonna Matt's gonna contact an engineer about getting a preliminary plan for that put together.
You thinking like getting a couple different ones, or just using Milano and Grunlow, or?
Leaning heavily toward Milano Greenland.
I wouldn't say so much as a quote, as more like,
Yeah,
what
plan,
can we
right.
do? Like,
Yeah.
is it better to bore under the streets? Should we put it under the sidewalk? Should we put it in the courthouse
Right.
yard?
I guess it wouldn't be a quote, you're.
Basically looking for best course of action, I would say.
And it might be better to get two at the same time, just to see if they agree or don't.
Right.
You know, what the best course of action
For
is.
sake of a comparable. You know.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all I had for the water sewer meeting. If I missed anything, please jump in.
Anything else for water and sewer? Streets and alleys?
We did have a street and alley meeting. Our plan is for the third Tuesday at 5:30. That, if anybody wants to join, we do post an agenda, et cetera. Our course of action right now is each of the aldermen are going around in the their ward and kind of prioritizing the streets for crack sealing to see like where our money is best spent there. We're getting a quote for oil and chipping and any other like major street repairs to kind of start gathering a list of things we want to accomplish first and start prioritizing them.
Right, like any sections that need to be, the concrete needs to be cut out and replaced.
Right.
You know, something that your hot or cold patch can't suffice. type of
Right.
thing. Just to give, that way Mac will have a priority list of things to scratch off.
Did our motor fuel tax resolution get approved? We heard back from them. We sent that back in May.
I've not heard anything from them.
Anything else for streets and alleys?
What's the game plan with potholes? Are we still filling them up with rock for the time being as
We do
a?
that. Well, we've been using obviously cold patch.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Josh did several really troublesome areas just yesterday, I know.
Okay.
As we see fit, time permits, we do that.
Okay.
Somehow, like, I know aldermen see things. If you see something, text Matt, that's the best way. Or maybe we come up with like a list or something to express that.
If you see something, say something.
Oh, I do.
I know.
And don't, I would rather you did, because believe it or not, an extra set of eyes is always very beneficial. Because you guys are gonna notice something that I wouldn't, and vice versa. So, no, that's welcome. Don't think it's a hindrance. It's definitely welcome.
Okay. Finance.
We met last week on Finance Committee. We went over some of the accounting procedures and a lot of the concerns that Tricia had. And at the present time, we are drafting a letter to be written to Abbott in an effort to get our financial statements a lot more timeliness, meaning that within within 10 days from the last day of the
Right.
calendar month, in addition to get more detail for fund transfer amounts, since those have been really delinquent, or whatever the term you want to use, upwards of 6 months, is that fair to say? So that we'll have a hell of a lot more reliable financial statements to make our decisions on. At the present time, it is my intention to have that draft sent to everybody on the council. And the only open question on that front is to who should be the contact person for Abbott going forward? Should it be the mayor, Tricia? Does that make any sense?
I mean, do they only like talking to one person? I don't understand how we cannot all just communicate with them as a group.
Okay.
That'd be the way I'd like to do it, but it's whatever
If there's a
everybody
concern,
thinks.
then address it.
Right.
You know, 7 people isn't a good answer either.
No, it's
in my
not.
experience.
I agree with you there.
So,
I would suggest going, even if it's the finance committee, or the chairman of the have it funnel maybe through one person, or the finance and treasurer, something like that.
right,
Because it just seems like there's not a lot of communication
exactly.
between us, and when we do, it goes so far and then it just stops.
Yes.
Right.
So, when I was drafting the letter, I kind of wrote it to the partner that we've dealt with in the past, and then I thought, well, we need to have somebody as our designated contact person for them to work through us, necessarily, and that's why I brought up the question, so.
Makes sense. That's good. Maybe we'll get some results then.
So,
It just seems like everything's really kind of up in the air. We don't understand everything.
Well,
because
and-
things are
and,
behind.
And we've told
things
them
haven't
several
been
times about
clarified.
things we want done and they have not been done.
Yeah,
So
so that's
it-
why we suggested that if we did this, we kind of lay our expectations out. And
yes,
I even thought, if we have to meet with them at some point and say, maybe there's things that they don't consider as part of their contract or whatever, and maybe we just need to reevaluate what they're doing and what is going to maybe on our plate.
as part of the letter I put in there, if they're not able to meet what our expectations are, obviously, we need to explore other alternatives for handling our financial statements.
Right.
So, and that's something we had talked about, but we thought it was only fair to communicate this formally to Abbott, and then, hopefully they'll be able to meet what we feel is reasonable expectations. And, but then again, if they're not, please be honest with us and we can figure out some alternative means.
Right.
Lastly, I didn't know if you want to talk about Sally now or later in the agenda.
She's on the, yeah, we might as well talk about it now. That's fine.
Because that was something else that we touched upon briefly in the Finance Committee meeting. I heard Sally's presentation at another entity's organization, and I thought her services could be utilized by the city, and I ran it by Joyce and Tricia at our Finance Committee meeting. They thought it was a good idea, and so that's why I put it on the agenda. I had forwarded everybody over the weekend Sally's little letter put together, what she has to offer, and she's here tonight to give a brief
Was that a
presentation.
Was that a different letter than what we received?
No, that's the
earlier?
same
Okay,
one.
Okay.
So,
Sure. Well, thanks, Tim, and thanks for having me this evening. Most of you know me, I'm Sally Tetley, if you grew up with me, and I'm Sally Turner. I just live outside of town, go to church here. And I've known most of you for most of my life, but I was your county clerk for almost 25 years. And the reason that I'm doing this consulting business is I'm not old enough to really retire in my heart. And so I wanted to continue some of the things that I do or did at the county clerk's office. And one of the things that I saw a real need for taxing districts, and that was in regard to your tax levies. Most entities don't understand their levies and funds and maximum rates. But on top of that, most of them don't understand the property tax limitation law. And you, as a taxing district, are under the property tax limitation law, so you're limited to the CPI every year. However, when there's new property that comes on, or your EAV increases, there's ways that you can achieve a little more money than the CPI. And so, my service is to offer assistance in calculating those maximum rates, calculating PTAL, going to the assessor's office, finding out what your equalized assessed valuation is, finding out what your maximum rates are by law, and helping, I understand, Tricia probably with the levy, or Kelly, or whoever prepares the levy. And also, if truth in taxation is required, because you've gained over 105% of what you got last year, I would assist in doing that. As you saw in my letter, my fees are very low, and one of the reasons why they're very low is because I feel like I've been part of the government system for a long time, and I was always a good steward of my money in the county level, and we all need to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars as well. So I'm doing this kind of as a service, but also as a contribution to my community. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask me anything, and I'm happy to let you know. But I will tell you, I've looked at your assessed valuation. The assessor puts that out every year, and this year she's got it done already. And your EAV has not increased. It may have gone up maybe a few $100s, and you have zero new property, which is not a good thing with tax caps, because that's part of the calculation in order to get you a little bit more money than the CPI. So you're probably not looking at a big increase this year, but that's something to watch for every year, because if we have new property, meaning new construction, things like that, whenever they go on the books, whatever that new property is, that's when we need to go in and capture that amount of money in order to assist us in the tax extension process.
How do we get those new properties on the books?
Well, when you have people that apply for building permits, that's how, and so you guys, I assume, they apply for the building permit in the city, and then you give that to the zoning officer at the county level,
Yep.
correct? Yeah. Then they give that to the county assessor.
So our new properties like that we did have are on the books, it's just they didn't increase our value.
You wouldn't have had any new value on the books this year. It's also at zero.
Okay.
I mean, in years past, I'm sure you have. Like, you had increased value when you got the Casey's and things of that nature. All those things were increases. But this year, they were all zeros. So evidently, anybody that applied for a building permit probably isn't 100% assessed yet. So that won't go on until another year, a following year. And if there was any increase in that TIF district too, if there was any additional new property in that TIF district, say they added on or something of that nature, that would go in your TIF. That wouldn't go towards your extension for your tax levy. Trish and I have talked before. I mean, we know each other well, and I know Kelly well too. She came to my office in the past, and we discussed tax extension, and she's done a good job at putting in the levies, but she just wants a better understanding of how does tax caps work, how does the whole PTEL process, and how do the maximum rates work, and things of that nature. So I generally think with a town your size and what needs to be done, I think I put it in your letter, it probably is gonna take about 6 hours of my time. And that's it, unless you have something else for me you wanna.
So the basic review would be 6 hours, and she charges $50, and, you know, whatever else we come up with to have her take a look at, and as questions arise as time goes on, that it's kind of nice to have this resource available to us. And obviously, you're not gonna get a consultant to work for $50 an hour anywhere else, So in my mind, it's kind of a no-brainer from that standpoint.
I'm totally on board.
I'll entertain a motion to attain Sally Turner's services as needed.
I would make such motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
Discussion?
One question.
Yes.
Like, as things come up, is like, would the goal be for like, if things to the finance committee and then you guys consult with her? Not like, I've got a question on taxes, I'll call
Thank
Sally.
you. That's a great thought, you're exactly right. Yeah,
I would
Former, not
suggest it
latter.
goes to the
Well,
finance committee.
Okay.
So if another alderman has a question or, an issue, then we should I would
Yes.
say we should go to the finance committee.
I agree.
Okay.
so if I may, the first thing that I'll do is Tricia and I will meet and we'll discuss, okay, where do you wanna go, where do you wanna put your increases, here's the amount of money that you have to work with, and then we'll go from there, and then she'll take that information back to your, finance committee, and you guys will discuss, yeah, this is what we wanna do, and then we'll do the extension based on that, or do the levy
Right,
based
right.
on that.
The finance committee can make the presentation or whatever the conclusion is
Mhm.
reached
Yeah.
at the
I'll give
committee
everything-
level.
Give her everything you need to make that happen.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Emmerich,
Yes.
Neville,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yep.
Brightmeister,
Yes.
Smock.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you, Sally.
You're welcome, thanks for having me.
Looking forward to working with you.
Yep, I look forward to working with you as well, I'll step out, so, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be in contact.
Yep, sounds good. What's that?
Is there, to move back up to public comments on the non-agenda items? Approval of consent agenda, which includes approval of the bills. There is no business district appropriation this month, so we'll give you the approval of the bills.
Babbitt and Associate, $2,980.82. Advanced Disposal, $3,017.99. Economic Development Resources, $2,766.40. IMB, $2,112.12. Midwest Meter, $4,820. Milano and Grumo Engineers, $565. Mission Communications, $1,690.20. Motorola Solutions, $5,604.30.
Judging by the first line, it looks like they get their bills out about as fast as our financial statements.
Right, April, May.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second of Ms. Mock? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Is there any need for an executive session? Any other miscellaneous business to discuss?
I have a thing.
Yes, sir.
219 South Washington, there's a building there that's, windows are all knocked out of, the animals are going in and out of. I got a complaint from one of the neighbors, so I don't know what we can do about that.
219, is that a house
It is
or?
old vinegar.
Old vinegar, that's what I thought. There was a time where we were looking into deeming that a dangerous building. I know Greg was following up on that.
Have you talked to him, Tony, about that, by chance?
I have
It's
talked,
been, yeah,
it's been a while, and I've talked to Paula like 2 or 3 times. I guess she's the executor. And I've informed them, hey, we're looking to get this covered up, taken care of, boarded up. Every time she told me she's gonna try to get her son there. And of course, nothing's happened. I emailed Jordan, evidently he hasn't gotten my email, but it was sometime last week about what are my next steps. Either me or Greg, what we need to do next. I mean, we just need to get it buttoned up,
Right.
so it's, like you said, not a dangerous, you know, kids that are going in, or
Right.
animals, and,
Said they're
or a
going animals
nuisance,
going out,
you
right.
know. So that's what I know right now.
That's a building that, like, we'd like to preserve. I mean, it's part of the town. I don't. Is that something we should help with?
How far gone is it?
No idea.
I don't know that you'd wanna pay that. If you look in the back, you can see the chimneys
Maybe it's not worth it
different
then.
from where it was.
So I don't know if it's structurally sound.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah, we need to find out.
Appreciate you trying to preserve the buildings, but if it's as far gone as it looks from the backside of it,
Maybe get another tavern to move in.
don't we need one more church?
To even it out.
Should we wanna reach out to her again, or have Greg reach out when he's back in?
Yeah,
He's probably still out.
yeah,
Heard anything?
I have not.
I talked to him yesterday.
Did it
just
go okay?
Yeah, he had surgery about a week ago. He's still in the hospital yesterday. He hoped to get out soon. I think it'll be like a month before he's
Said he could
good to
drive.
go again, but
Yeah.
he talked about he has to go for walks, and he said he's gonna come to City Hall and do some stuff, so I don't know. I told him to take it
So
easy.
you better take it.
If we're, you know, if we're not getting much feedback from her and you've reached out to Jordan to see what the next step would be, I would talk to him first before you reach out to her again. You know, you can always call. He's really good about returning phone calls.
Gonna do that, yeah, I don't know, I'll make a call tomorrow.
Because, I mean, there's certain things we can do to deem it unstructurally sound or dangerous, and, you know, you hate to throw the fines out, but that is our one,
Well,
that's what we have, that's kind of the only ball we got in our court, so.
I do know, like Decatur and stuff, if they'll send out a notice and you got so many days, if they don't do it, they'll come in, board it up, and send you the bill for that.
That could be something
The
maybe we
building's-
could do.
the
We could
building's
always
still
hire a
under-
contractor to
Yes.
do it.
The building's still under the original owner's name, so I think three children or three daughters that are, I'm assuming inherited, but nothing has been transferred title-wise, so I mean, who do you find? Somebody that inherited something that's not on record yet, or,
Right?
you know, it just makes it a little tougher.
Gotta go through the motions though to do it correctly. And then,
Okay, so we got some progress on that, we know what we're doing with that.
Yeah.
Does that sound all right, Billy? or-
yep, yeah. Now, if I get asked, I know what to say.
Yep, we're moving forward with it, and try to get that fixed.
The second item I had, and I've already talked to Matt about it, was the low-lying trees in streets and alleys. Yeah, we had a little meeting about it, and I just want to make sure it's on record that we've talked about it.
We got quite a few of those cleaned up last year because the parade route changed. I know, I mean, it was always kind of,
But we got quite a few targeted to work on now too, so.
Make sure I'm doing my job.
absolutely. Any other miscellaneous business?
Had a few things.
Okay.
The Square Planning Steering Committee, they've also asked for kind of clarification. So if they go to redo the sidewalks and stuff, that could cost a lot of money. What is the city's stance on how that gets paid for? So we set up the business district, you know, to fund that. Is the thought that all of the money would come out of the business district and whatever the economic development board or advisory board saw fit, or would the city budget for some of that as well? I want to get people's feedback about how we would want to do that. I did clarify that the water, any like water or sewer stuff that gets done at the same time would be paid entirely by the city.
Right. Is this, like, you've been talking to Dave Leonardi, or was he, when they contacted you, or?
Tom mainly, but Dave was there.
Gotcha.
there is no numbers put to it yet. I think it's kind of like a, how much can they bite off? And what makes sense.
Right?
I lean towards it coming out of the business district fund. That's what the business district was.
Yes.
Envisioned by Fuhrer to keep the uptown, you know, appealing, attractive.
Right. It's also a perfect candidate for the community donations as well.
And yes, to me, that's where the split should be predominantly.
Do you think the city would pay for anything else? I thought, like, if it made sense for some, you know, some small affordable project that the city could pick up for, you know, under $10,000, like, maybe that's doable.
And it's possibly doable, but we got a lot of projects going on, as you know, so.
Okay, so I'll give the direction that mostly business district.
And yes, the community donation.
Okay. On the planning, that's taken place so far, Leonardi is, I don't even know if that's his real name, like.
I think it's Leonati. It's either Leonati or Leonetti. I think. I get it wrong each time.
Mr. L, yes.
Yeah, he's brought some plans, so, reworking the sidewalks, on the corners, he had, like, with the steering committee's come up with some nice ideas of having like a taller wall that says like Mount Pulaski and looks really aesthetically pleasing. Reworking the retaining wall around the square is part of it. The conversation piece right now is like completely removing the sidewalks seems to be a lot to bite off, but at the same time, like places where it needs to be reworked, that seems to make the most sense, and as well as to get the new retaining wall, maybe that's what'll be done. But these are some of the things that have been discussed so far. I am on the steering committee, it meets occasionally. If somebody is interested in being a part of that, we are looking for more input and more people to be a part of it.
You guys know when that next meeting is? Probably a while, because it's, I know the co-op's taken up a lot of that
It's like-
steering committee time lately.
I'm gonna loosely say August 17th, but I didn't write it down.
August 12th and 13th is the local foods, local places. I don't know if we have a meeting. We need to talk about that.
And then the last thing, there was a guy from the state who attended the square steering committee, and he is responsible for overseeing the courthouse and several other places, like that's his role. There was
Michael Mills.
Yep, Middlestead. DNR's is now overseeing that, and he advised that like DNR's perspective on things is they like to charge fees for everything. So not that saying that they would do that, but like that is like what DNR would like eventually to do. And then of course there's like tons of pushback and stuff to figure out, but it's like a park and stuff like that. So we talked a bit, and he thought it would be a good idea if the city had a contract with the state for the, like the lot around the courthouse. So he thought the mowing, I know that came up a while back, so now they have somebody contracted out. One possibility we could do is like, in the contract, we could take care of the mowing, like, I think we still mow our corner of it, or we could.
We don't know anything up there now.
So do we hire that done as part of our,
They obviously included that in their bid. They've
so
never
they're
asked
mowing the
for
whole
anything.
thing?
Yes.
Okay, so we could hire it out or mow it ourselves, probably hire it out with our other stuff, and then like just bill the state accordingly, you know, or make that a part of our contract. We could include a, you know, I don't know, we maintain the lawn and we reserve the right to use it as a park space for whatever festivals or whatever we want. I don't know, it was some interesting ideas that I hadn't thought of before, and I wanted to make people aware of that.
He's a pretty good guy to talk to. So, but when he's saying like charging,
That's not, you know, it's not that that's gonna happen,
right?
but that is what they view everything as. But he said like it wouldn't be completely unfeasible from what he's seen, as they would wanna charge, like, if we had a festival and we wanted to use part of the squares, like, activities up there, then we'd have to get like a permit and pay a fee. And that's like, not that that's gonna happen, but a possibility.
They're going more towards that because like normally we're able to use it and all they want is proof of insurance.
So when it was, if we had these questions directly, Middlestead would be the best person to ask.
Right.
But my understanding is it used to be under like historical preservation group, and now that's under DNR. And
Yes.
DNR, you know, has to pay for their stuff somehow. Any other questions on that stuff?
No, but definitely something to think about.
So the gazebo that's up there now,
That's on our property.
it's on our property? Okay.
We might have to have Middlestead come to our council meeting and explain all this.
Yes,
You
it might
know,
not be a
once
bad
we get
idea.
more in depth into it, so.
I think I still have his phone number.
Is there appetite to do that, or should we just leave it as it is, if like they're mowing, they're taking care of it now? I guess if, I imagine this is gonna go for a couple of years, and it's gonna stop, and then we'll start mowing it again, cause it's not being mowed, and then it'll like, just keep going.
Well, you know, to me, if they stop mowing it, you know, the courthouse foundation could lift a finger too and do that. We did it for many,
Well, I
many
mean, it'll be
years.
through the whole cycle again. because
Yes,
the
I don't wanna go
courthouse
through that
foundation
again,
started for it,
but
yes.
they got plenty of money too, so.
Right.
When people drive by, they say, why doesn't the city take care of it?
What-
He wanted the city to turn in a bid, and I told him, I think we ended up giving him a bid for this higher than what we thought it would take us to do it.
No, we didn't put a bid in at all.
Because there was several, there was, I think Will Stewart put one in, Zach Jason's one that mows it, you know, there's people in town that's kind of their livelihood, that's their business, they're in the
That's
business of
exactly
making
why
money
we did not
mowing.
bid it.
I don't wanna steal people's business, you know, so if people are out there making a living mowing yards, we're not in the business of making money mowing yards. So that's why I thought it'd be best for someone, now, if he wanted us to take it over and then we contract it out to Zach, that just seems like one more person to go through that it doesn't have to go through, but.
If the only benefit I see there is like, we are way more in tune with the yard need, like, stuff being done than somebody from the state.
Very true.
When we did it, that was the main focus, is because we knew what the activity plan
Right.
schedule was up there. So, you know, as long as Mother Nature was playing ball with us, we could work around that. If we knew something was gonna happen on a Wednesday night, we'd make sure it was cut and looking good. You can follow what I'm saying? Or going into a Friday night,
Instead of just
second
going
Friday
every 2 weeks.
or something.
Good info.
I got two more things, my apologies.
Nope,
One-
this is what it's for.
On the courthouse square, I've had 2 people complain about dogs pooping up there. I assume you're already aware of it, but
I have,
ordinance against not picking up after your dog.
no, that's fine. I went up there last week, talked to most of the tenants. I talked to the owner. She said it's in their lease, they're aware of it. I said it's fine, so next time I find out who does it. I mean, if you see somebody, if you can describe them to me, or
If I
you
see
know who
somebody
they
pooping
are,
up there, I'm gonna let you know.
that's fine. And then we'll just go from there with an ordinance.
Were those recent complaints, Andrew?
I was told a week and a half ago.
Julie showed me a Facebook post from the courthouse foundation thing in big caps, no poop, you know,
Yeah.
whatever.
Last thing I had is like the legalization of marijuana in the state, and like some towns against that, whatever. I didn't know if we wanted to talk about that or just let it go and we'll be included in like the generic ruling, or if we wanted to possibly be an outlier. My personal stance is I'm more against it than I'm for it, but I don't know that I'm against it enough to want to go through the headache of making ordinances and trying to enforce that, stuff like that. But if somebody else is highly against it, I don't know. I thought we should at least discuss it.
Right?
I'm for it. I think it's a revenue source, just like the gambling thing and the video gaming, that if somebody wants to open a dispensary here, they should be able to. And then we have in the act, you have a local tax that you can oppose of 3%. So to me, that could be another income source. Obviously, like Andrew says, this isn't a short-term type thing, since there's only less than 100 licenses right now to have dispensaries. But in time, that will expand, as we all know. So to me, you know, we would be shortchanging ourselves if we're not open to discussion about potentially hosting a dispensary here.
I think, yeah, I agree with you on the revenue stream. I know that with the gambling machines, Joyce was concerned about that getting kinda out of hand. You know, with certain towns, that's kinda all you find. I don't know, is there towns that have these dispensaries in them that have their own little ordinance to say, you know, it can't be over 5,000 square foot, we're gonna impose a local tax, there's a fee, you know.
Well, I would
So that
imagine
would
the
just be something
zoning,
where we can,
yeah, a zoning
we can make
ordinance
the
can-
dispensary follow
Yeah.
the rules we want it to.
exactly,
You know?
yeah.
Okay.
Can't open up the old grocery store as
Yeah.
a full.
To me, that's what zoning laws are for.
No curbside, you know, no curbside business or anything like that.
We're not gonna have a strip club next to a church either, so.
But I'm sure that the state laws, is, you know, as thick as they are, would cover most of that stuff. It would be a matter of what we wanted to add in addition to.
Right,
To
right.
kind of fit our little town.
It was only 188 pages was
Oh,
the copy
that's
that
not
I
bad.
had.
You can do an ordinance, but I'm pretty sure the local economy will more than suffice for saying how big a dispensary is probably gonna be in this town.
Very true.
Right.
Yeah, what I had seen is like other towns who would like have the option to still keep it illegal in their town. And
Yes.
it's forbid
That
selling
language
it
is in there, yes.
inside their town. So if we wanted to do that, we could. As far as other stuff, that's,
Yes. You can't imagine how regulated this stuff is. I'm on the cannabis committee for the Department of Revenue, and they've got software that's gonna be kind of the same thing as the state of Washington uses, and they'll be tagging each plant from the cultivator or the producer all the way to the dispensary. So it's amazingly how tight this stuff is. So, as for anybody to open a dispensary, they're gonna have to put up a lot of money to jump through all the regulatory hoops even to open up the doors. So I can't imagine this thing having
Add more
fly-by-night
hoops for 'em.
people doing this type stuff.
Right, and
so.
especially if we added more hoops for them, you know, it might entice them to not want to have one here.
Yes, and it's being taxed to death, I can assure you that, because there's a tax on each stage of the process, believe it or not, so.
I do believe it.
I wouldn't shut the door on it though, so.
What did they decide on the homegrown portion of that, you know? Sorry,
5
I'm
plants,
sorry.
it was 3 to 5 plants, I
I believe
believe.
you have
They're allowing you to
to,
do it.
you have to have medical card for that.
Oh, you do have to have
Yeah.
that. I'm not building sunroom yet.
Grow out.
Thank you for all that, Andrew. Any more discussion on what Andrew had to add?
I did have one thing.
Yes.
South Line house that was condemned, whatever became of that.
There was a building inspection done. I believe it's no longer condemned, if that's correct. No?
To my
Because,
understanding, it didn't quite pass, but they have so many days to correct the issues.
okay. So is it condemned until it passes completely? Is that how, is that
That's
okay?
what I understand, yes.
All right. They were working on it.
Yeah, I was pretty sure.
It did, there was some, I think the mold was eradicated and the header was fixed, but there was still a couple things. I'd have to reread the report. You want a copy of the report, I believe, Tony, or I have a copy of it.
What else was there? Was water intrusion, hole in the foundation. What else?
Right, there was some of that, I don't know if that's gotten corrected or not, but I know I've seen workers over there the last few days, every time I drive by.
That was just somebody brought it to my attention, I was passing it on. Not sure that.
Yep.
And
It
the
was-
fines were paid, is that what I?
Brandy
Yes.
was at the last meeting and she requested an inspection. That was done 2 weeks ago or so.
Yes,
Yes.
and then, just like you just said, Tim, that,
Yeah,
I got a call Friday from Paula that fine was paid.
Really?
It was in the deposits.
Yeah.
And he's the one who's leading all the things to be fixed. It's not on Randy at this point. Like Tom's the one fixing things, or having them fixed.
Well, I don't know who's having it fixed, I know she requested to have it inspected.
Right.
We got it inspected. It should fall on him.
Right.
He's the owner, I don't know that. If I was Brandon, I was paying for it, I'd be definitely pushing it back
Right.
to him.
For sure. I think that's probably agreement that can just be between those two.
Right.
They were given a notice to vacate anyway, right, 60 days?
the good news is $600 for a condemned house is that rental properties are hot. Matt?
Yes, sir.
Speaking of that, what's going on with the beautiful thing right next to me? That's
I don't
been
know.
kind of not talked about the last couple of years.
Is
I
it
didn't
still,
know
is
if
it
there
still
was-
considered open and dangerous?
Well, it's got a window on the west side, the side that faces me, it's about, half fell out, and while the siding's coming off, I just pick it up out of my yard and chunk it back in his.
There's a pulp mansion west.
But I knew that we kind of,
Yes.
talked about it before, but nothing really kind of,
Yeah, we definitely talked about it before.
We just never
We
come
were
to
this
light.
close to tearing it down.
I just didn't know if we'd heard anything or you had heard
Greg
anything.
and I talked about this.
Okay.
I know Tom came up earlier this year and requested to take 3 of the properties off of rental list, and that was one of them. Greg and I think, from what he did here on 321 South Vine, what we'd like to do is go back and tag those 2 properties he took off as rentals, and they're still condemned. They're not, they've never been re-inspected, they've never been fixed to say, okay, they're safe to live in. We would like to go back and tag them, still condemned. Like I said, I know he took them off his rentals, but for what he did down here, I'm not playing that game. I'm not gonna do that again, and then he finds somebody that says, oh, I live here, and now we've got somebody in a condemned home again.
Right.
So, that's Greg and I's thought.
I think that's a good,
I agree.
good plan.
And then I think, even though if it has windows and stuff opened up, it should be the same as what we were talking about earlier.
Fine.
It won't be 30 days or 60, whatever you guys wanna do, and say if you don't have it fixed by then, we're gonna have somebody come in and fix it, and you'll get the bill on it.
Yeah. Sounds good.
I just didn't know where we stood on it. Because I knew it just kind of, I don't know whether it got locked up in the court system or what, but it just kind of went over, kind of
It did. just
went out
go away,
west, so
didn't
to
it?
speak,
I know Wayne looked at it.
Van Hook and Glenn both were working on it.
Where's the third property?
East
On
McDonald, I can't remember the
Oh,
address exactly, but it's right up the alley.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Looking to rent?
Anything else? All right, good discussion. Thanks for coming, guys. Oh, that August 12th and 13th, that local food, local places. I do not believe we have a meeting until then. The flyer is up there.